We are entering the era of agentic AI with clear understanding that it will transform the way work happens.
This big shift is really big and operational. It's about how organizations deliver outcomes and how performance is now becoming more impact-based.
That the experience of technology matters as much as the technology itself. You could deploy the most sophisticated platform in the world. If it's slow, it's hard to navigate, or it creates friction at every step, then you lose data, commitment, consistency, you lose trust of these people.
Looking ahead, we need to start building what we call learning organizations, which are more adaptable, more AI-enabled, and more inclusive. Hi, welcome back to TChats, Building the Future. I'm Tian, Chong, CEO of Singtel Singapore. Today, we'll be discussing about the future of work with our network partner, Ericsson. Now, we'll be talking in particular about how technology, talent, and workplaces are evolving, and what organizations need to do to support their workforce, and more importantly, to achieve their business goals. With me today, I'm very happy that I have Priyanka Anand, VP and Head of People for Ericsson in a very big region, Southeast Asia, Oceania and India. So Priyanka, welcome.
Thanks, TC. Glad to be here.
Wonderful. Now let's kick off with our first question, Priyanka. Now you've led very large HR teams across markets globally for decades. Let's start the first question, which is what workplace changes have you observed? What are the key things that you've seen?
Thanks, TC. That's a great question and something that I think about constantly. Over my span of 3 decades of HR global career, I've led teams across 30 plus countries, which had 50 plus nationalities, and 4 generations coming to work together. And if I was to talk about the 3 big changes that I've observed, first is how work has transformed from being location-led to being network-enabled. How people, when they come to work, are not being judged for their presence and physical proximity, but the value that they create, the outcomes that they enable, and how connected, capable they are to deliver that impact. The second big shift is really about making sure that we are entering the era of agentic AI with clear understanding that it will transform the way work happens. And how do we make sure that the human and agentic partnership is leveraged for the best of its strength, which clearly means where human judgment is needed, managers and leaders make that work more human-led, and whatever could be automated is delivered through machines and automation systems. Organizations that simply layer AI on top of their work will only gain efficiency, while the organizations that fundamentally redesign the way work is being done are the ones which will define, how is a judgment-based human work going to contribute, while what can be automated and be done by machines. And the third thing is investing in leaders, because they are the ones who will drive this change from the front, which will clearly mean that as leaders, they have to become comfortable in leading teams which will work in human-agentic partnership. They've got to build the psychological safety for employees to embrace AI. The structures, teams will be not all humans, will be agents plus humans. And overall, they have to drive technology adoption faster than the technology changes.
I agree, and I think this big shift is really big and operational. It's about how organizations deliver outcomes and how performance is now becoming more impact-based. What I see is that based on what you said, and when I talk to customers and also within ourselves at Singtel, it's really now about having clear goals, strong alignment between the teams, but more importantly with customers, and also about the trust. At the same time, I also see that because of this technology and AI shift, the workloads have started to change a lot. People are now using more digital platforms in the cloud. They're using tools that have real-time collaboration, and all of this means you need more bandwidth-intensive connectivity, and also it's more compute heavy. But this begs the big question, which is how technology is changing the way we work. And if I were to frame it, I'll say that I see 3 big shifts. Jobs are increasingly being redefined because AI is reshaping roles now. And AI and automation is taking away the labor-intensive, low-value work, and the roles that are left are evolving. So for the people who are evolving with the roles, their skills need to keep up and they need to keep reskilling. that also brings about the second big trend, which is you need to have continuous learning. It's no longer about the annual training or periodic training, and it needs to now happen in the flow of work all the time. And third, it's about how work is being blended. And like you said, it's about humans working with AI and digital tools and working with virtual agents by humans assisted by AI, which means that humans now have better and faster insights and they can make better decisions. So with that being said, Priyanka, what about your view? How is technology redesigning work?
The biggest driver is how people experience work, like their roles, their teams, their growth is no longer just about culture and leadership alone. It's about technology. It's that profound shift that we're experiencing already now. So work has become more mobile, it's more outcome left, and entirely dependent on the infrastructure beneath it. So we are no longer asking where someone works, where they are. It's really about whether the technology they are working on is fast enough. Is it secure enough? Is it seamless enough to let them do their work from anywhere and anytime they want, but deliver to the outcomes that have been agreed or committed to? And that changes the definition of productivity. It's no longer about presence or physical presence. It's about the outcomes, and the outcomes depend upon the connectivity and access to seamless network, like you said, TC. But here's what I've learned, a little bit more with interacting with employees nowadays, that the experience of technology matters as much as the technology itself. You can have the best technology, but if the experience connectivity is not seamless, it's not meeting the expectations of the employees. So you could deploy the most sophisticated platform in the world. If it's slow, it's hard to navigate, or it creates friction at every step, then your people will work around it, but they will not be motivated and satisfied.
True.
And that's when the work around it, you lose data, commitment, consistency, almost you lose trust of these people. So the best technology investments that I've seen succeed are the ones human experience are kept in mind from the start, right? And not coming as a lag on. And underneath all of this is connectivity, security, and ease of access. And to me, I think these are the questions that used to sit entirely with IT, but today they sit in the center of our talent strategy. Because if this infrastructure is not right, people's strategy cannot deliver no matter how strong the culture is. And that's exactly why it's so meaningful to partner with you and Microsoft TC on the whole 5G plus mobile workspace solutions, because it brought all of this together. And I would say it's been done so elegantly in such a simple way for employees, because now they're connected on a secure network and they're productive straight out of the box and from day one. So there's no friction, no IT complexity, and no waiting for weeks to be operational.
Thank you, Priyanka. And I think that's where infrastructure becomes critical. And, thank you for the partnership with Ericsson on our mobile workspace. I think you summed it up well. For us, important thing about 5G plus mobile workspace is how employees are connected, secure, productive, and it's straight out of the box, right? And important for me is how enterprises, as we sell this solution, they get two big things: the visibility and the control with network level protection and all those threat and security benefits that you mentioned. I want to switch gears now and talk about how you build an organization for a multi-generation workforce, right? And more importantly, how does Gen Z actually view all of this change and what do they want from work?
When we put these generations together on the workplace, we see the strengths it creates, right? It creates an innovation engine on how Gen Z can learn from the experienced professionals, while the experienced professionals get challenged by more creative, innovative thinking. And to me, an organization to get this superpower right does not have to decide and design two different set of policies, principles, and ways of working. We've got to create an ecosystem that can cater to all the four generations in their unique ways. So they've got to be designed for the specific needs that meets people in their stages of their journey. When people don't get it right is when you do a modular approach of these benefits. And Gen Z are very clear about three things. They want to see a fast track, accelerated growth paths, not happening in bits and bytes, but happening as a journey. When they start to contribute and learn, they should be challenged with roles that help them take those learnings into real-time experiences. The second is learning doesn't happen on the side. It has to happen when they're working on the job. And they want to be faster than the technology changes. And the third is they've got to be given an environment where they can fulfill their purpose, they are challenged, and they're also recognized for the impact that they create.
I can relate to that a lot, Priyanka. I mean, it's not just about one generation. In fact, at Singtel, we have 4 generation minimum, as well,
Yes.
and more than 90 nationalities. And like what you said, we focus on 3 things at Singtel: continuous learning, building AI fluency into the roles. And then second, we talk about the culture that wraps it all around, about collaboration, coaching, innovation, are key ingredients in the culture. And then third, it's about how we're starting to redesign work. Like we discussed earlier, how AI technology is taking out the low value tasks so that we free people up for the high impact and customer facing urgent things to do. And I think for me, really looking ahead, we need to start building what we call learning organizations, which are more adaptable, more AI enabled, and more inclusive. So I think these are the key ones. So we've had a really enriching discussion today, Priyanka, on those topics. And with that, we've come to the end of this episode of TChats. And I'd like to thank Priyanka for joining me for a most energetic and productive discussion. Now, join us next time as we discuss more on the future of work.